Sairam, everybody. It is right at 3 o'clock. We will start off with 3 Omkaram. Then we will see a small video clipping of Swami. Oh. Oh.
మరొక విషయము వరల్డ్ కౌన్సిల్ అనేటువంటి ఒక పేరుతో పూర్వం జరిగేటువంటిది. ఏదో అప్పుడు కొద్ది కొద్దిగా జనములు ఉండటం చేత దాన్ని ఆ విధమైనటువంటి దీంతో అనుసరించడానికి అవకాశం చిక్కేది. ఇప్పుడు విదేశాల్లో కూడా చాలా భారతదేశం కంటే అధికంగా పెరిగిపోయినాయి. ఈ బాధ్యత అంతా కూడా ఒక వ్యక్తిగా సాధించడం అంటే వీలు కాదు. కనుక భారతదేశానికి అంతా కూడా ఒక్క ప్రెసిడెంట్ గా మనం ఒకటి పెట్టుకొని వివిధ దేశాలకు ఆయా దేశానికి తగినట్టుగానే వారికే ఈ బాధ్యత అప్పచెప్పి ఈ వరల్డ్ కౌన్సిల్ అనేటువంటి దాన్ని ఈనాడు తీసివేశాం. కనుక ఈ పేరుతో ఇంకా నచ్చదు. ఆయా దేశం వారు అక్కడ కూడా మన భారతదేశంలో ఉన్నట్టుగా 5-6 మంది చేరటము, ఆ యొక్క దేశం యొక్క బాధ్యత ఆ వాతావరణానికి తగినట్టుగా వారి పద్ధతికి తగినట్టుగా వారు చేసుకుంటూ పోవటం చాలా మంచిది. అయితే ఎవరి పాటికి వారిని వదిలిపెట్టేసేస్తే ఇది అస్తవ్యస్తంగా మారిపోతుంది. కనుక అక్కడ నుంచి కూడాను అక్కడ జరిగేటువంటి యొక్క పద్ధతుల గురించి మన ఇండియాకు తెలుపుతూ రావాలి. భారతదేశంలో ఏ పద్ధతులను అనుసరిస్తున్నామో వారి దేశకాల పరిస్థితుల ప్రభావాన్ని గురించి వారు కూడా ఆ పద్ధతులకు వచ్చే వరకు అభివృద్ధి పరచుకోవాలి. కనుక అక్కడి నుంచి కూడాను ఈ ఇండియాకు ఆ పరిస్థితులు తెలపాలి. ఆ ఆఫీస్ ఇప్పుడు ప్రశాంతి నిలయం ఆఫీసు. ఈ విధమైనటువంటి మార్పులు చేయటం దేనివల్లనంటే కేవలము ఒక అభివృద్ధిగాంచుతున్నటువంటి ఒక సాయ సంస్థలను మరింత ఉత్సాహం పరిచే నిమిత్తమై కొన్ని మార్పులు చేయవలసి వచ్చిందే కానీ వేరు కారణాలు మీరు ఏమాత్రం కూడా చింతించకండి. కనుక మీరు వేరు భావాలను పెట్టుకొని ఏదేదో అనవసరమైనటువంటి మాటలతో కాలాన్ని వ్యర్థం చేయటమే కాకుండా సంస్థల యొక్క పేరు ప్రతిష్టలు కూడా ఏమాత్రం కూడా మీరు హానికరం చేయించకూడదు. అందరూ ఒక్కటే, అందరూ దైవ బిడ్డలుగా ఉంటుండాలి.
Sairam, everybody. Offering my humble pranams at Swami's lotus feet. Dear brothers and sisters, Sairam. It's my honor and privilege today to welcome all the Sai brothers and sisters. And it is extremely happy to welcome Dr. Akshay Kalatya, our Zone 1 chair, to come forward and take the floor. Sairam.
Sairam, thank you, Saish Brother. I offer myself at the divine lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Let's pray, Swami, to invoke your presence to preside over this meeting and to let all of us remember to conduct ourselves knowing that you are present. Sairam, dear brothers and sisters of Trinidad, as Zone 1 chair for the Sri Sathya Sai Council, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to meet with you all on this Zoom call. I know there have been many questions regarding the formation of the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council, with many fundamental questions of what is the Global Council and why was it formed and how will it function that are at the forefront in people's minds. So I want to start by giving a little bit of a background first, as some of you may have this information, some of you may not. Among the numerous reasons to both form and join Global Council, and we can certainly forward you many reasons through the websites, and I know a lot of them have already been circulating, but I want to just mention, for the sake of time, 3 very important reasons that stand out. The first important reason is to be rooted in Prashanti Nilayam. When we have an organization that bears the Sri Sathya Sai name, it is incumbent on that organization to remain rooted and connected with Prashanti Nilayam. Bhagwan Baba emphatically declared on numerous occasions he would never leave Puttaparthi, and Prashanti Nilayam would be the center of the epicenter for his mission for centuries to come. So whereas as an individual, we can always connect heart to heart from anywhere with Swami, but an organization that bears his name that he started, it has to be rooted in Prashanti Nilayam. And any commitment that officers made prior to the formation of the Global Council, in my opinion, they were voided, because once that organization severed ties with Prashanti Nilayam, once they said we no longer are accountable and no longer wish to report to Prashanti Nilayam, that is not what we signed up when we were officers in that prior organization. And so we don't have that commitment anymore, and we do need to move forward. Prior to 2011, every Sri Sathya Sai organizational entity was intimately connected with Prashanti Nilayam, with the physical form of the avatar. This Global Council initiative, really, it should have been functional right from the time of the Mahasamadhi in 2011. This is something that should have been happening, and it didn't happen. But it's something, just because it didn't happen doesn't mean it can't happen now. So better late than never. Also, the second most important, the first is being rooted in Prashanti Nilayam, which to me, I think alone is more than enough reason. A second important reason is organizations now are run by human beings, and including Swami's organization, at the physical plane, at the material plane. And we all have our faults, right? Myself, I have many faults. We all have our biases. We all have our limitations as human beings. And so any organization in this Kali Yuga, it needs to be run with transparency, with checks and balances, and with a wide-based decision-making body that's formalized. So if you objectively look at the SSSIO structure on paper and in practicality and how it was run, and you look on paper as what's been proposed by the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council, objectively, there's a vast greater transparency, checks and balances, and wider decision-making. The third reason is unity, to be united. Swami has always emphasized unity. Whenever we would go in our medical camps and serve in Prashanti Nilayam, the one thing he always stressed to the leaders and to us when we had the good fortune to be in his presence, he talked about unity more than anything else. And so we don't need an excuse to form unity. Unity should be the default. We should always be looking, how can we be more united? We don't need a legal directive to form a more united organization. We don't need to wait for somebody to tell us to become more united. We should always be on the lookout for opportunities to display unity and be more united. So joining our brothers and sisters of the Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organization of India, along with all the institutionals and personnel that are under the auspices of the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, should be a no-brainer. There has to be a very good reason not to come together in unity. And as someone who initially was trying to learn all of this and looking at the information presented from both sides, the disagreements the SSIO put forth were just, to me, they were just not justification enough to not be united. Also, if you look at Sai organizational members throughout the world, if you look at just the sheer numbers, over 90% of any organizational member under the Sri Sathya Sai name falls under the Seva Organization of India and under those under the management of the Central Trust. So why would less than 10% of people refuse to unite when they're given a more than fair share of their representation? If you look at the documents, the Global Council is it's an entity of itself. It's a new entity that's comprised of all three entities. And the vast majority of representation is from the international community on both the Executive Council and the membership of the Global Council. So even though the membership is the minority, we're given a majority in the decision-making and stakes. So it doesn't make sense why we can't join in unity. So this Leela of Swami's, for whatever reason, is moving forward, and this is his sankalpa, his divine will, and nothing is going to get in the way. This is going to happen. It has happened. And what our message is, we don't want to tell people join Global Council and quit SSIO. We just want people to understand the rationale, understand Swami's message, understand the implementation of his message, and then go in front of their altar and pray and ask for discrimination to choose. And you choose. It's a heart-to-heart choice between you and Swami. That's the Sai method, and this is the way the Global Council will be run. It will be run with the Sai method. And what is the Sai method? The Sai method is to provide encouragement, to facilitate cooperation and interaction, rather than micromanaging and interfering and giving directives. The Sai method is to be fearless. The only thing we should fear is sin. We should be fearful of doing the wrong thing, doing adharmic acts. Not fearful of some person, not fearful of some position, no matter what that person's wealth or scholarship is, not fearful of losing a position. Whatever position we have, we shouldn't make a decision because we're fearful of losing a position or fearful of losing a possession. And of course, we never fear God, because God is not to be feared. He's all loving, all merciful, all grace, and he's there for our protection. So the last thing we should ever fear is God. We should only be fearful of committing sin. The Sai method is also to quietly do our sadhana, doing seva, not getting caught up in publicity, media promotion, or recruitment. Our job is not to recruit people into Global Council or any Sai venture. Our job is to do our quiet sadhana and explain people and educate people what Swami wanted. And the Sai method is to be joyful. Swami says the key is joy. J for Jesus. Jesus is first. God is first. Truth is first. Dharma is first. O, others are second after God. And finally, Y, yourself. We are last. We need to sacrifice what we want, what's good for ourselves or our family, when it is better to do something that's for the good of the whole, of the community. So before, I know you have lots of questions and answers, and unfortunately, the information from the Global Council has been kept from many people, and unfortunately, propaganda is being circulated. And I know you have lots of questions and answers, but before we get to the questions and answers, I do want to take this opportunity to congratulate Brother Krishna Ramachar, who's been selected as the national president for Trinidad under the Global Council. Members of the Zonal Advisory Committee have been in close communication with many senior devotees in Trinidad, who have in turn consulted with many elders in the country, many center presidents and devotees for suitable persons for this role. And almost universally, the answer that kept coming back was Brother Krishna Ramachar. So I'm very, very happy to announce in this public forum that he is the national president for Trinidad under the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council. And we will be getting a certificate for him on his behalf from Prashanti Nilayam. And so, Brother Krishna, before we do question and answers, would you like to say a few words?
Brother Akshay, I'm not able.
He's having some technical difficulties, so we'll keep an eye out for him. If somebody send a chat in the chat box if he's able to log in, and we'll try to get Krishna to say some words. So what we'll do now is let's go ahead with the questions and answers. So I'm going to ask Sai Shravan to just please mute everybody, and both myself and Zonal Advisory Committee member Vijay Sagram Singh We'll take our time and really answer. We'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have. Ask anything, no matter how hard or sensitive the question may be. And I humbly ask, as long as it just comes from the heart and is said lovingly in a civil, courteous. So yes, I'm not sure how much you missed, but ask anything, no matter how hard or sensitive the question. As long as it comes from the heart, as long as it's said lovingly, as long as we know Bhagavan is right here presiding over this meeting on our behalf. So we're all muted just to be more efficient in this restricted electronic format. So please raise your hand. There should be a mechanism to raise your hand, and then we'll go down the line and be happy to entertain any questions. And again, I humbly ask, try to make your questions concise, limited to a minute or two, just so we can entertain as many questions as possible. Okay, great, Sairam. So, Sai Shravan, maybe you can call on the person with the hand raised, and unmute them, and then we'll have them give their questions.
Sure, definitely. And yeah, go ahead, Hari Prasad. I've unmuted you. You could go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Oh, are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. Firstly, love and Sairam. This is Krishna Ramuta here.
Sairam, wonderful.
Yeah, Sairam, brother.
Thank you.
Sairam to all. Sorry about this little mix-up. I think what happened, my assistant set up this. So if you're seeing the name Hari Prasad, that's the name of the assistant. So I'll have to address that. Sorry about that.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear some words from you, sir.
Oh, thank you. I will. Yes, love and Sairam again. Firstly, I would like to say at this time how thankful I am, and I accept with all humility and all love the offering of the position to be president of SSSGC Trinidad. When Brother Vijay asked me, I told him that I'd have to think about it, I had to pray about it. And after I put some of the pieces together, I realized this was divine grace of Swami. And then I accepted with all humility. Since then, I've had meetings, telephone calls, WhatsApps, irregular. I have communicated with the officers that have been selected as well. We don't have a full complement of officers as yet. We are working on that. That still is a work in progress. So we are hoping to have our officers coming on board. But as I said to a couple of senior devotees who I have been in touch with, is that I want to be very careful as I step forward, looking to get myself a vice president or an officer. Least I be interpreted as an attempt, as what actually you just said. We have not to look as if we are trying to recruit devotees for GC when we use the short abbreviation. So that will come in the fullness of time. I am certain that Swami will provide the right persons at the right time to fill those offices. Also, with respect of the way we are moving forward, because of this very unsettled period before us right now, it is my humble view that we should not go for too much of a long plan right now. We should just focus on a plan at least for the rest of the year, so that we don't try to strategize too much yet until we have a full complement of officers at the Trinidad and Tobago Council, and we are certain who is on board with GC, so we can work from there. Just to let you all know that I've already scheduled a Zoom meeting with the officers that is on board for tomorrow evening. I think it's 7:30 p.m. so that we can be one-on-one like we are being here now, and do some chit-chatting, get their views, their opinions, how we should move forward, their vision for at least for the rest of the year. And that's very much what I see for now. What I would like to see as we move forward is some of the problems that we in Trinidad we experience under SSIO was that one was communication. There were major problem with communication here. They wasn't getting information for sure. Information was distorted all the time when it did get it. And one of the things that had me very, very concerned, and I spoke to Brother Vijay about this, is that whenever devotees are traveling. Right now, we cannot travel, most of us, because of the lockdown. But when that resumes and you are going outside of the country, being a devotee and you go to a satsang outside and somebody, well, you're from Trinidad and you want to say a few words or something like that. You don't want to talk about Trinidad policy and whatever. You just want to share with devotees. And you were muzzled and would not allow to do that until you get prior permission. And that's my understanding. And honestly, I think that should not be. That is something I hope that we would all be looking at, so that devotees would be free. Well, if you travel and you are asked to do something, that I think definitely that should be the way we should go. So I would continue to pray to Swami, and ask Swami's guidance and his divine intervention to lead us as we go forward to fill the full complement of the council, and as we work in harmony to spread his mission, which he has asked us to be part of. Thank you all. Jai Sai Ram.
And thank you so much for taking on this very important service. And that's what being an officer is, really. It's being a servant for the devotees on Swami's behalf. And so that's the theme that we really want to instill in the Global Council. Is officers are servants, and they should be listening and making decisions, again, based on what's best for the devotees, as long as it's in line with Bhagwan's messages. So,
Sairam Akshay, there's one more question from a devotee called, I don't know, can you rename the, it is called VAPS. I'm unmuting. 1 second, please. Go ahead, you can ask your question now.
Hi, Sairam. Yeah, so my name is Vishal Pandit. The nickname is Vaps, actually. So I'm
Okay.
sorry, I didn't get a chance to rename it before. So I just wanted to perhaps ask a couple questions as it's being recorded, in hopes that we can get a transcript of this after to share with persons who might have missed the meeting, right? My first question would be, apart from the Young Adult National Coordinator, what other positions would you all be able to extend to other young persons, so that we can have a team of more diverse age groups with regards to your national council? Because what I found under the SSIO was the only young person that was ever on the central council or the national team was just the National Young Adult Coordinator. But I do believe that there needs to be more effort to include younger ones in national decision making, rather than just having a National Young Adult Coordinator on that team alone for that purpose. Sairam.
Yes, Sairam, brother, that's a great question. And yes, we are recording the meeting, and I do see that we should be able to make it available, as well as the video and the transcript later on for those that couldn't attend. So the question regarding young adults is a great one. One of the things we've done moving forward is we've made the young adult age from 18 to 35. It had been 18 to 40, but really prior to Mahasamadhi, it was 35. And it was subsequently changed for reasons that we don't need to get into on the call. But many young adults and seniors over the years have really asked to make that back to 35, and there's good reason to. So the young adults will be 18 to 35. And so with the young adults, the young adults, it's nice for them to have their own voice and their own groups and their own meetings, so they can support each other. That's very important. But they should also be an integral part of the whole organization, an integral part also in the decision making. So one of the things we're going to try to encourage all the national officers is to involve not only the young adult officers in the decision making, but another wonderful opportunity. What we're going to do is at the zonal level, we're planning on having several committees. And so while the officer's role is to administrate on a day-to-day basis, the committee's role is going to be really more of think tanks, more of idea generators to collect ideas and come up with material both proactively and as needed by centers and devotees. So it's really a seva. And we want young adults to really take part on these zone-wide committees. And some of the committees, we're going to have a Veda sacred chanting committee, a women's support committee, a cultural outreach committee, a disaster response committee, a Psy cares committee, a Psy tutoring committee, social justice committee. And I would love to see young adults take leadership position on these committees, because of course, from my interaction with young adults over the years, is they love to serve. They don't like to get involved in other things, but service is dear to their heart. And these committees is a wonderful way to really help all the devotees perform more and more seva. So that's another mechanism where young adults can get involved. And we would encourage all young adults to really take part in the organization, make it their organization. They're the wheels, they're the engine of this car that we're driving. And it's really the elders that are the steering wheel to make sure we don't drive it off a cliff. But the young adults are the ones that should really be generating a lot of what we do moving forward. Just a couple of plans that we have, I'll mention now. We have some wonderful plans in the works. We're going to plan, hopefully, now that we're an extended family with Prashanti Nilayam, we have so many resources without going through layer after layer of bureaucracy. So we can directly communicate with Prashanti Nilayam. So one of the things we're looking into doing is involving some collaborations with Radio Psi, getting YAs involved in programs directly with some of the Radio Psi team members, perhaps set up an online values course, online leadership courses, possibility to receive certificates from the Sri Sathya Sai University with the help of the professors and teachers there. So there's so many collaborative things that we can brainstorm and try to present to Prashanti directly, because now we're one big family. The other thing we want to do is at some point, we want to plan a zone-wide pilgrimage. Many of us have not had the opportunity the past 2 years to visit because of this pandemic. And so we're itching to go. And why not plan as a family, as a zone, to go to Prashanti Nilayam, where the children can present a program, the young adults can present a program. We can have workshops from eminent professors and eminent longtime devotees on tips for bhajan learning and singing, tips for playing instruments, meditation. We can do a unified seva offering. We can give tours to children, young adults, all around Puttaparthi. Another thing in the works is the Centennial Celebrations are being planned, and the leaders in Prashanti really want all of us to get involved, give our input, so we can not only come, but we can help plan and participate. So many things are coming in the works, and the YAs have to be an integral part at all of these levels. And we're going to encourage all the officers at every level to really make space for the YAs. So I hope that answers your question. And do we have any other questions coming up? Feel free to ask anything that comes to your mind.
Yeah, Akshay, there's one more question coming from Devesh Maharaj. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, Devesh. Sairam.
Sairam, thank you very much for this program, Akshay and the rest of the Global Council team. What has pushed many devotees and centers in Trinidad to contemplate, first of all, to contemplate, and second, to move to the Global Council was a desire to participate somehow and somewhat in a decision-making process which was unavailable to Trinidad. Things like appointments. I heard Krishna mention a short while ago that he didn't have a full complement of council and so on. I think that should be a matter of some urgency for him to put in place from my perspective, but it should be a wide-ranging consultation he can have with people who are already Global Council members, so that people feel that they are part of the process. Part of the problem we had here, and I'm picking up from a lot of people, we felt we were not part of the process. Over and over again, and I understand why this is said, that sometimes election or selection of officers is not an election and so on, but that might be so, but certainly we were told after the fact that this is the decision. We don't know the process that went ahead in making the decision. There are a lot of projects that came forward which were just quickly shut down, which we thought were viable projects. I don't call names, I don't want to call persons and so on. But generally, there became a chasm, which of course they are now trying to bridge with the advent of the Global Council. There are numerous meetings being held. Last night was a Zoom meeting with the North Zone. There's one carded for South Zone, one carded for Central Zone. Suddenly, people who we could not reach normally and who would not respond to messages and so on are suddenly coming out and claiming ownership over devotees, so to speak, because they're saying that Global Council is poaching their devotees and so on. So I am just perhaps a way by question of Akshay, or perhaps is a way by suggestion. I really hope that going forward, there's a more participatory process with everyone involved so that people can feel they are part of the process. I remember when I don't know if it's Doctor, but Leonardo Guta came to the country many years ago and he talked about Argentina. He actually said that the minutes of meetings of their Central Council in Argentina was sent out to almost every devotee because there was a mailing list. He said there was nothing to hide and everybody was able to see what was going on inside. In Trinidad, sadly, that is not the position. And therefore, I am thinking on the way forward, that could be a way of remedying your communication and your participation between the council, the authorities, and the devotees. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Sainam, Brother Devish, thank you so much. That's such a very, very important point, this transparency. And, as far as your suggestion of having minutes and posting minutes, I think that's almost obligatory, really. Especially in this post, Samadhi era, we really need to be transparent. That's the need of the hour. And on this call, you've all met Sai Shravan. He's our media coordinator, and we're going to have a zone-wide media tech team, and they're going to provide a wonderful service to help ease some of these protocols and procedures, if you would like. It's not going to be mandatory, but they're just going to make themselves available. They're a tremendous resource and help. They've already set up a website for Global Council for our entire zone, for Canada alone, for USA alone, and for West Indies. So they are more than happy to do seva for Swami, and they can come up. They're amazing ways where they can, right now they're going to be placing announcements that we make on the website. So the websites will be current with all announcements that we're making. So there's no reason that, there's no excuse for not having transparency. The mechanisms for doing so is easy. The only thing you have to do is have the willpower to do so. So I want to also introduce Brother Vijay and have him, say a few words and answer any of the prior questions as well as the future questions moving forward. Vijay, are you able to speak?
Sairam Akshay, Sairam everybody, wonderful to be here and to take part in this meeting. Most of you or all of you know that I am Trinidadian born and I'm living here 33 years now. So heart and soul still, dwells in the country. And I care a lot about Trinidad. And I'm happy what Devish just said. Transparency is a big thing. Prashanti Nilayam, under the guidance of Bhagwan, whatever they do, whatever the Central Trust did in the past, and also what they are doing currently was always or is always available for public. I mean, for birthday, you would have seen, they would come up with an annual report. They will explain beautifully in that report all the funds that were taken in, all the funds that left, and it was very transparent. You can always go to that report, and that report was available to everybody. Of course, online you can probably get it, but they will, hand out the reports to members of the, countries, head of officers of head of the country, other countries. Unfortunately, currently this group that we have here that is causing some concerns for everybody. We've never had a report. We've never had an annual report. We've never had a financial annual report. I've never seen that. I don't know if Akshay has seen any since Bhagwan's passing, but I've never seen any or heard of any. So yes, there is a great need for transparency, and at all levels, not just financial reporting, but decision making, as Devish rightly pointed out. If you're going to have someone assume an office, a national position or something, of course, some of the elders and the people, all the devotees and the devotees on the whole should have a say, whether it's the right choice or going forward, if this is the best fit for the organization. So having said that, look, we have a lot of work going forward. I want to make a comment that Akshay was, when he started off by saying, why Prashanti Nilayam? The big question is, a lot of devotees are very confused about, what is this big deal? Why should, we have to join with Prashanti? I've said this over and over. If you look at all the major spiritual organizations of the world, the major ones, ISKCON under Prabhupada, you have self-realization under Yogananda, you have Raja Yoga, you have Divine Life Society, you have Amma, Mata Anandamayi Ma. All of these great personalities have hundreds of centers in countries all over the world. And you know where the headquarters are? All the headquarters are in India. So a good question would be, well, if the avatar of the age, which is Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, that gracious Lord, that divine energy which has come aside to awaken the divine energy in all of us, if he was born in Prashanti Nilayam as the avatar, tell me why. Why can we not have Prashanti Nilayam as our headquarters? This is a big question I always say I want to ask these people. I said, why? What is so difficult? I mean, it's a no-brainer, so to speak. So we have very good reasons to join with Global, and this is just one tiny reason, but it's a good enough reason. So what I would probably ask Akshay, if, with your kind permission, let us probably hear, what are the concerns of the devotees, what they have to say, what is it they want to see. Devish has started out nicely by saying, look, what he hoped that will happen in the future. Let's probably hear from some of the others, what they feel, what direction should we go, how we can render support to them. After all, that's what we're here for, to support, them in their quest to attain what Swami has always said, their own divinity, our own divinity. Sairam.
Sairam, there is a question, Vijay, from Vabs again. I'm going to unmute him.
Sure.
Go ahead,
Sairam,
please.
once again. So apart from it being a full-on question, with regard to how, continuing from Brother Devish's point, I would say from the top down, especially filtering into our Trinidad organization, it has been a very autocratic and dictatorial manner in the regards to dealing with situations. And I can safely say in Trinidad, there have been many situations that have been resolved only to the benefit of those in national positions and in the council. And there has been no place or no team or committee for devotees to express themselves and get perhaps a second hearing. So I can explain to you, for instance, we know that he is in charge of everything, and then it sort of forms a clique when it comes to the decisions of then it's and all of these persons, they have what I would call or term really a clique mentality, and decisions are not really made fairly, especially for devotees who don't have another place. For instance, if a devotee did not get a proper hearing, there was no other place for them to go and get any sort of reprieve. it's always the same persons who then now just ignore problems and just keep it hush hush, and nothing gets solved and entire centers fall apart. And I'm telling you, this is what has happened in Trinidad and transpired, especially in my region, which is the central region. There were probably about 9 centers operating, and then because of decisions that have been made very dictatorial, I believe there may be just 1 or 2 functioning centers within that entire region at this time, fully functioning centers, because of the fact that devotees from centers don't have a voice or any sort of reprieve. Is it that the council will be offering a different tact or manner in which to deal with situations that may arise, perhaps a panel of persons rather than everything just being done by decisions being made by one person? How is it going to work in the future, Sarah?
I see I am unmuted. I don't know if I can add to that question. If I have the permission, I wait to see.
Yes, please.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So let's take up where Vishal left us. I remember distinctly there was a wonderful project started in Trinidad, started in the north, and when it started in the south, it was going to be managed by the youth. It was a big sewer feeding program. And I actually remember the night on which the youth were in the kitchen cooking, and I came down to see because I was invited, and then I was summoned to a meeting by the hierarchy upstairs, and they said there shall be no sewer in Central. So I said, but right now they are cooking downstairs. They said, no, that's it. Safety reasons. I said, but is there going to be a discussion about this matter? No, that was it. It was final. And it was absolutely horrendous. Tomorrow, I receive a notice that there's going to be a Zoom and all questions are welcome. However, you must send the question to a relevant authority, which will be vetted. If that authority doesn't want your question for them to answer, you're not going to get it answered. And to come off from where Vishal left off, he talked about reprieve. I think what he really meant was redress. Being formally, I was the chairman of the education board, and I was no longer then. And then there were people who were involved in the education process within the organization would repeatedly call me from time to time, and they have these problems. I said, well, listen, I am no longer with the education board. You can properly direct your questions to persons A or person B. They said, sir, we have done that and we have no response and there's nothing happening. We're very frustrated. I said, I really don't know what to say. You haven't even gotten a response? No, we haven't gotten a response. I said, fine. Later I learned that not from them, from a third party, that out of frustration, they may have emailed directly. There was no response. I never knew what became of the issue because I felt that because there was a new council in place, I had no right to intervene, and therefore I didn't want to make it seem as though I was trying to impinge on a person's current position. But so to take up where Vishal left off, if you do not get a redress in Trinidad, where do you go to? Is there, I mean, in normal corporate governance, there's a kind of mediation board where you meet for people who have grievances and so on. And as more and more young people come into the fold, they are not prepared to stand by an autocratic process, but they would like to know that they have a redress. Even if final decision goes against them, at least they would have had a chance to express themselves and their views. Sorry for taking so long. I know you said you wanted it cut. I deeply apologize.
It's okay.
No, that was very, very clear. Very good question. Vijay, you want to answer
sure.
that first, Vijay?
Yeah. Sure. Well, look, we know who is the head of this organization, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And according to all the teachings that we have from Swami, we know what is right, we know what is wrong. And I think what has to happen, a couple of things. The officers in each country should be very familiar with Bhagwan's message and teachings. They should have a good understanding of it. And also they should have all the qualities that Swami spoke about, compassion, love, and they must be willing, willing to embrace, challenges. Well, look, in every organization, Akshay and I, we can tell you how long we've been in this organization. We started off as probably Ys and go all the way up. And we've had many challenges, but we've confronted them. And most of the time, lovingly, we made our point. But we were fortunate. We were fortunate to have leaders, in people like Goldstein and Dr. Harvey, good people who time and again would listen. Sometimes, again, they would not probably, rule on what we want, or wanted, sorry. But the thing is, they listen, right? And I can never forget this. In Orlando, many, many years ago, the YAs got together. We didn't have a YA group. And we told Dr. Goldstein and Dr. Harvey, look, it might be a great idea to have a YA, group. And he said, okay. And he listened lovingly. And guess what? He went to Prashanti the following month and told Bhagwan directly, said, Swami, the youths of America, they would like to come together as a YA group. And Swami gave permission. We were the first group that got permission directly from Bhagwan as a YA group in the world. So to answer Devish's question, yes, we have to be educated. We have to retrain our officers. We have to retrain them, let them understand what is Swami's message, what is love, what is transgression, what is all these things. So when they make decision, they make good decision, not as one person, not as a dictator, but as a group. And if they are uncomfortable with making a decision, yes, we have the zonal chairman. And we can even go beyond the zonal chairman as well. We could go directly to Prashanti, to Mr. Chakravarti. So yes, I guess things have to change going forward. And I can assure you that I know this zonal chairman, as I said, as a YA, and I know where his heart lies.
Sairam, before we take a couple of more questions, I just want to add to that. I think, as Devish rightly pointed out, any organization has to have a protocol. There has to be a discipline and a protocol and a means for resolving disputes. And I think really it has to be done at the central level, right? There's no need for anyone else to get involved initially. And it has to be, as was said before, there has to be what do the members want? What is in the best interest of the members? There should be a collaborative decision-making with the goal of staying within Swami's teachings and doing what's best for the center's spiritual development. That's it. Now, if for some reason that center officer fails to have a collaboration or there fails to be agreement, yes, then there can be recourse to go up the chain, and eventually it can go up to Brother Krishna, who is now the national president. And again, there's no need for Krishna to go beyond that. He knows his country, he knows his people. And if he needs to get involved, again, his job is to listen to both sides of an argument, not to just automatically assume based on his bias that this person is good and this person is bad. He's going to listen to both sides of an argument, and he's going to make the final decision based upon what he thinks is the best for all the devotees and what is in line with Swami's teachings. If for some reason, there's still dissatisfaction, then the way it's delineated is there is no other intermediary. Krishna has a direct access to the zonal chair, who currently is myself. And the instructions that I've been given directly from Prashanti Nilayam and the chairman of the Global Council is, you know your zone, we trust you, you do what you need, you don't need to ask us for anything. You go ahead, and if it's a noble venture and you, in your heart, do what you think is best, you go ahead and do it. You do not need us at all. That's the message that was given to me. Now, if I turn out to be a villain and I turn out to, be a tyrant, then yes, of course, that's the beauty of this global organization. You have a whole executive committee that grievances can be brought up, where 20, 30 individuals will be meeting twice a year to look at big item issues. and they have the authority to remove me if I turn out to be a villain or some autocrat. So we have a very reasonable mechanism in place. And really, again, ideally, it should all be resolved at the central level. The center is the ones doing the seva. The devotees are doing it for themselves. And as long as they're following Swami's teachings, and as long as there's transparency and collaboration and listening, then there's no need to go further up the chain.
Ram Akshay. Krishna's hand is up, and next Terry Maharaj.
Good. Sairam, all. Are you all hearing me?
Yes, Krishna.
Yes, yes,
Sairam.
yes.
Okay, good. With respect to the question raised by Vishal Pandit, or the concerns, as president now, what I propose to do is to listen to devotees' questions, their concerns, their queries. I cannot say we'll be visiting centers because that is not possible right now. But wherever it comes up, to be as fair as I can be. Young adults, especially young people, just wants to be heard. They are energetic, they're lively, they want to participate, they have good ideas, sometimes may not be so good, but they want to get a fair hearing. And as Brother Akshay said, I would do my level best, follow the guidance of Swami, to advise, to listen to them, to participate, and communicate information back to devotees who have concerns, not just young adults, but any devotee at all who have concerns with the organization, probably with the new structure, the new council, with any particular officer. We would definitely try to resolve it in a very amicable manner. If I have to refer to up the chain of command to Dr. Akshay, as I was told, I could go report directly to him, or to other senior devotees who I would seek advice from. I'll pray about it. But you want to give devotees a fair hearing, so at the end of the day, they are very satisfied that they were heard. They may not get the answer that they want, but they will know that you give them a fair hearing. You're not being autocratic, you're not talking down to them. I could say this at this point in time, and I know Terry is on this webinar as well. When Terry was president and I was vice president, we hit Trinidad and Tobago as well. Every center we could have visited, we visited. We were very visible on the ground. Terry was at that time the most loved president. I was told this by senior devotees of the organization. And came about because when you went, you listened to devotees. You gave them a hearing wherever there were concerns, and there were lots and lots of concerns. And I intend to, once it is possible, to move around and visit the centers and visit devotees. That is what I would like to do to help to resolve any issues which may come up from time to time. Thank you, Sairam.
Important. Yeah.
Sairam, Akshay, there is one more. Oh, sorry, Vijay, you're saying something?
Yeah. I like what I'm hearing. And I say this, you can't fake that you care. Some people, you probably could try to fake that you care about people, but can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I'm saying that when you care for people, you can't fake that you care for people. People will know. When you care about people, there's a kind of energy which flows between you, the listener, and the people who's lodging the complaints or whatever. So in this organization, we have to care. It is our primary duty as officers or people in position to care for others. And like Brother Krishna was saying, how do you care? You do the things you do. You go meet people. You go to the centers. As he said, Terry was most loved. And I heard this too. I heard this from many people, that Terry, was very well loved because why? He engaged the people. He went out to all the remote areas of the country and met with people and was down to earth. And as Akshay always said, we have to build this organization from the ground up. And that is what we're doing. That is why we're here. And we want to render all the support that we can to all of you guys. If you really want to do the work, with a new organization, with an organization that really cares. So this is great, what we're hearing.
Sairam Vijay, thank you. There are two more questions, one from Terry, and after that we can take one more question from Lystra iPhone. Go ahead, Terry. I have unmuted you.
Sairam, are you all hearing me?
Sairam, yes.
Yes.
First, I would like to congratulate Brother Krishna on the position of President of Sri Sathya Sai Global Council of Trinidad and Tobago. As I said, Brother Krishna is a very capable person because he worked under me as Vice President for 2 years, and he did a fantastic job. Some of the things I would like to pose is that, sometimes how do we plan to elect and to remove office bearers? There should be some kind of criteria, because I'm not here to bash the SSIO, because all of us are Sai brothers, regardless how we are called. But I would have seen that you are penalized for being useful and working, and congratulated and promoted for being ineffective. I hope that is not the case here. For too many years, we have where it is from the top down, where it should really be from the bottom up. I think an organization is only an organization based on the followers that it has. And our devotees should have some kind of say in even electing high officers, right? Because they're on the ground, they know who they could work with. And they should have some input, no matter how small it is. Also, Dr. Akshay, I would also like to see that, some sort of training is given to our office bearers. For the simple little things, when you become president or office bearer, all you have really become is a bigger servant to the people. And many times, some of us get caught up with the position and start to, look for the glamour and glitter of it. And I would really like, that if we could have some little workshop expressing how we go about as office bearers, meeting and greeting the people, let the people feel they are part of us. Let the people feel that they are one. And once the people feel that they are united, they work well. Right. So, I would like to see those things happen. I know that people had a lot of issues before with SSIO because the way things have been run, as we will say here, too much of red flags, just petty little things. And I really hope all of us know that Global Council has come to make a change. And I really hope that we all could really make that change and give people, the true meaning of what Sai has come from. Thank you, Jai Sairam.
Excellent point, Sari. Excellent point. Vijay, would you like to address anything?
Sure. Yes. With regards to the officer training, this is not any boast, but Akshay and I, we have over the years, we have contributed towards officers training, even at the national level. And it started a long time when I was regional president. We had our first regional meeting and first regional officer training. We put together that program. And then over the years, Akshay did a fantastic job. He embellished it. He modernized it. And so I know he has in his database a great program, officer training program, which will help with selection of officers, transparency, and everything. So Akshay, I think probably going forward, we could share that with them. And we could even also plan some, visit and maybe retrain the officers if you think the pandemic will allow us to do so. Sairam.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that, we are at your service. If you feel officer training would be helpful, we will do our very best to come personally or get the right people to come and help you organize that event. So we will definitely, and I think training is very important in any organization, and of course our organization. So I think maybe we can do, I know it's getting a little bit late. I hope you all bear with us, and thank you for taking the time to listen to us. Maybe we can take 2 more questions and then we'll do some closing remarks, if that's okay.
Yeah, Akshay, that is good. We have exactly 2 hands raised, so we could go in that order. It's almost top of the hour. Sairam, Lisra, you could ask your question now, and next we can have Shivani sing in that order. Sairam.
Okay, Sairam, this is not Listra, this is Dalvi here.
Okay, sorry, I'm just going by the name that
Yeah.
I'm seeing.
That's okay. I've been listening to the conversation. Well, I don't think I need any introduction to anyone on the chat. Just one, when we go to do projects, right? As you guys, we do international projects. Sometimes we build houses almost every week here. If we going to do a project, do we have to get permission if we want to build a house next week? Do we have to get permission from this organization, or is it we have to inform the president that we are going to do a project? That's the first question.
So that'll be. Let me take a stab at this one. Look, you're well known throughout the Caribbean and probably some parts of the world for the great work you have been doing, and it stands alone. I mean, if you want this new organization and to work alongside this new organization, I think this organization will welcome you with open arms, and also, it is a two-way street. It's a two-way thing. You could help the organization in terms of some of the seva you're doing, and the organization could offer, some sort of, guidance or whatever if necessary. But you don't need you've been doing this all along, and you have been, providing a service for people who really, really need them. This is the real thing. When we talk about Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of people talk about this housing project that is going on, and also this feeding project in Port of Spain. So these are noble things that you're doing. And I would like Akshay to probably comment on this. So for Akshay, if you don't know, Mr. Dalvi and his group, they have been providing houses for many, many years. And I think the numbers of houses and homes they've provided for people run into the hundreds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Sairam, I'm very familiar and have heard, and seen wonderful photos of the wonderful seva that's been done in that regard. So, in a simple sense, I don't think you ever need permission to do a noble work. You don't need to wait for somebody to tell you to do seva, as you've been doing, I'm sure, your whole life. So seva doesn't need permission. I think the only time is if you're doing it as together with a center. It should just have some basic values embedded in that seva, that we're not soliciting funds, that we're not, we're not pumping up our egos, that the seva we're doing is an opportunity for our own spiritual growth. As long as we come with that mindset, no permission is necessary. Maybe if you're going to be working with the government, or if you're going to be working with collaborating with another group, it might be nice to let us know, just so we're aware of that collaboration. But again, service doesn't need permission. As long as you're in line with Swami's teachings, that is the heart of the organization, and that should be encouraged, never discouraged.
Correct. For instance, right now we're doing a project in St. Vincent with where we're going to do 27 houses sometime in September. Now, anytime we do an international project, I inform the national leaders, and I also inform the international leaders. In this case, the central coordinator, deputy central coordinator, of what we're going to do. So they are aware of what we're doing. But sometimes we get pushback like, why you want to do this, why you want to do that, because the support we want is just agreement that it is a side project, because which is how I work, directly with instruction from Baba in, well, if not all, in most of the cases where he will come and give instruction to go forward. In my dream or in somebody's dream, he still connects with us like that. So that is something that, sometimes we feel, instead of the leaders are happy that we have side devotees, budding side devotees in a group that only intention is to share love. And sometimes they say, why you want to do this, So we find that is so peculiar in a service organization. In my mind, we feel Sai organization is the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization, meaning that the whole basis of the organization is to serve and to find and take opportunities to serve as much as we can. Okay?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. So moving forward, with the Global Council, if you want to do any seva in our zone, really you just have to notify me, because my intention is to really integrate our zone, use each other's resources. So if you want to come and do seva in my backyard, I'd be more than happy to have you come and build houses in my backyard. And we get our volunteers to join with your volunteers, and we do wonderful seva. So there will be no obstacles for doing seva. If it's done through the organization, and as long as we provide fellow devotees the sacred opportunity to serve others and redeem their lives, that in and of itself is a seva on top of a seva. So as long as we give people opportunity to do seva, that is only going to be encouraged.
Correct. And I want to add, I see most of the, like Terry Pies on the list here. That chance where the organization at a national level pushes the devotee to experience even the house building in their own community, many times that is not present. Over the years, I've seen that there is no push from the organization leads to get even the regional seva coordinator involved with the group that is doing the house building, and sometimes, that's not a good thing over the time that I have been working on behalf of the organization. And well, that's enough from me, all right?
Yeah.
So thanks for the chance to say something, yeah.
Thank you for sharing, and we're really hopeful and eager that you bring your skills and talents to help all of us. Sairam.
All right, Sarah.
Sairam, Akshay, there are two more questions. We'll take one from Shivani first.
Yes.
Sairam, please go ahead.
Hey, Saram. So I just want to speak about an issue that our center would have been having, and they just wanted some clarity that this would not go forward under this global council. So under the SSRU, we would have had issues and requested the National Council to come and address those issues. But instead of addressing them, they just basically shut us down. And whenever they had to communicate with us, it would be to just tell us decisions that were made at the higher level. For example, all of a sudden we needed to contact our regional chairperson whenever we have to use the Sarvadharma symbol for like invitations and stuff. And otherwise it was said that it would have been an infringement on the property of the organization to use the Sarvadharma symbol, which seems very, I would say, petty. And other than that, for example, there was Akan Bhajan in our region, and we were not a part of it, so our center decided to have our Akan Bhajan ourselves. And our president told us that we should shut it down, that we shouldn't have Akan Bhajans. So things, our members, they're happy to be a part of Global Council, but they just really want that comfort to know that such things like these, it will not arise again. And the question that I would have is in relation to SSIO members still contacting us, even though they know they may be aware that some of us have joined Global Council, but they are still contacting us and, sharing their view and still pushing that point that we should be a part of the SSIO. Now, I just wanted to know how we should respond to that, because I don't want to respond and create any room for misinterpretation or negative communication with that member, because it is a senior member. So I do want to be respectful. So I just would like to know how would some of us, how should we respond to that person, if we should even respond, or just let the messages come in and just, ignore them, or what. And lastly, sorry, in relation to what Vishal has said, there are so many young adults in Trinidad and Tobago who are so talented, but being a part of it myself, I would have realized over the years that there is a big communication gap between the young adults, and the young adults are not able to be blissful inside and express their talents and things like that. So with the young adults, we really need to work on that, bridging that communication gap. Sairam.
Good. Yeah, good questions. As far as being stifled from doing things, I think there again has to be a very good reason to shut anything down. So what I can guarantee is that communication has to take place. Now, sometimes the Senate president may make a decision that certain groups may not be happy with. As long as the communication is there, and as long as they're making the decision in the best interest of the whole center, and that's why we want you guys, as center members, to pick your own leaders, because you know your people. If I come and pick a leader, I have no idea who that person is, and they may end up not being a good leader for you. So you pick your own leaders, and then you trust them, and sometimes they have to make some tough decisions. That's always going to happen, but the communication has to be there. Both sides always have to be heard. As far as how to respond to people that keep contacting you, I think we always want to be, how would Swami respond? He never, we have to be respectful. We have to be loving, but yet we have to be firm with our principles. So you can say, yes, uncle, thank you for your concern. I've looked at both sides, and this is what, my heart is telling me to go. Thank you for your concern. And that's all. And if they keep pestering you, then you may have to block them or just not engage anymore.
Yeah. Great.
Vijay, are you saying something?
Yes. Yeah, I like that answer. And just to tell you all that I know we have a wonderful support group with the elders, like Terry and Devish and other senior people. Now that we're moving in the direction that we are moving, you're going to have a lot of support. You're going to have a lot of people to consult with. So your officers will have guidance from the SSSGC elders in the country locally and in our zone as well. I'm sure most of you probably are getting calls from people who have never called you in probably 15 years. And that might be that's probably an amazing thing. And it's probably enough to tell you that something isn't right there. But as Akshay said, we are a loving organization. We should love all. We should, always reach out to people and be respectful.
I think it's getting late. Maybe we can just go ahead and close with a couple of remarks. Is that okay, Vijay? Should I go ahead and close it?
Sure.
Akshay, there is one hand up from Faiz Mohammed. You want to take it, or we'll close it?
Sure. Yeah, Brother Faiz, if you could make a short comment, that'll be wonderful. Thank you. You may be on mute. We don't hear you.
Loving Sairam. Thank you very much, Brother Akshay, for allowing me to make a brief contribution. I just want to congratulate Brother Krishna on his appointment. And I know with the loving support that he has with all of us, definitely there will be success. I just wanted to point out briefly, personally from my perspective, some couple of cares and concerns that I have that are really, really urgent and important. And I think that they need to be fixed as we go with the Global Council. And one has already been highlighted, is the leadership issue. It has always been a problem and challenge we've had in the West Indies, where Personally, there's been a lot of pressure, there's been a lot of stifling of initiatives whenever there are good, viable projects for the benefit of the communities. There are instances where individuals use their position to wield authority, control, and power, and that has been really damaging and contradictory to Baba's teachings. And also too much red tape, Brother Akshay, in order to get approval for very viable, beneficial projects, and especially speakers coming to our country. Another very important concern I have is the term of office bearers above National Council presidents. We have had here in the West Indies central coordinators occupying positions for 10, 12, 15 years. And that to me is a very damaging thing, because as people age, they lose their mental faculties, their efficiency, their effectiveness begin to wane. Not only that, they become very comfortable in their positions and they may not give of the very best. So I think in going forward, we need to establish fixed terms of office for positions above the National Council president in the best interest of our organization. The most powerful position in the world, the US president, doesn't go beyond 2 terms. And I personally feel we should run the organization as a spiritual business, because what we don't do in our business, we want to also give it to Swami, and Swami needs to have our excellence at all times. Thirdly, Brother Akshay, not to take too much time, the youth involvement. I feel it's very, very important to create opportunities for our youth, to prepare them for leadership roles and other very important roles that they have to play. 75% of Swami's time was spent with the younger ones, and his life is his message. So we need to create opportunities where they can grow and where they can blossom forth. And finally, as Brother Devish and others have said, the strength of our organization lies in the strength of the centers. So we need to build bottom up. If we have good, functioning, efficient centers at all the different wings, our organization will be a viable, successful, and loving one. Thank you very much, and Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you very much for those very good comments. And I think the term limits has come up many times, and I know that the executive committee of the Global Council internationally is probably going to take that up, when they do meet. So I just want to thank everyone for taking the time and patiently listening. I know we're running fairly late. I just want to spend a few minutes and just close the meeting. I know there's been a lot of back and forth going on, and I just want to mention, there's some red flags that you have to be careful of from any organization, especially a spiritual organization. And one red flag is that if the organization tries to hide information that can impact a person's life, that's a red flag. When an organization assumes that an adult is not smart enough to be able to hear both sides of an argument, that's a red flag. When an organization forbids people from seeing outside information, that's a red flag. When an organization punishes people for reviewing information, that's a red flag. When an organization portrays those who may disagree with them as having bad character and try to defame them, that's a red flag. When an organization tries to criticize the person rather than the person's ideas, that's a red flag. When an organization sends accusatory, demeaning letters addressed to those who have decided to leave their organization, that's a red flag. When an organization threatens its former members with legal actions for trying to just use and share the teachings that's been given to them, that's a red flag. And when an organization tries to take credit for donations or service projects done by devotees rather than attribute it to the devotee and the heart-to-heart relationship that devotee has with God, that's a red flag. So moving forward, today we've nominated and selected and affirmed Brother Krishna Ramatur as the country president for Trinidad. And he's going to work closely with the senior devotees in Trinidad and the zonal advisors and help select the rest of the national team, after which Trinidad will be functioning independently to do their own loving seva and devotional and educational activities without interference. Krishna will be in direct communication with myself as zonal chairs without any intermediary bureaucracy. Now, of course, it's the Sai Center, as we all mentioned. That's the heart and soul and driving force of the organization. There's not going to be any authority and power protocols, but only that of love and mutual respect. And we're hoping to have more unity and more collaboration, as I mentioned earlier, at the zonal level as well. We want to use each other's resources and help each other and communicate better as a big zonal family. And so, I mentioned some of the committees that we're developing. I encourage all the members to give suggestions for the future of this organization at every level. I encourage the young adults to sign up for committees and get involved, not only for their own branches, but for the entire organization. Moving forward, Swami is definitely guiding this process, make no doubt about it. For these things to happen so quickly and so spontaneously with the right people coming in at the right time, this is definitely being orchestrated by Swami. We talked about the wonderful plans that we have for the young adults and for pilgrimages. So in summary, we don't want to engage in conflict. We want to let others have their own temper tantrums while we quietly carry on with our good works. There's no need to get into legal quarrels and further add to the bad name that sometimes organizations are giving. So all we want to do is see Swami and all, even those that provoke us. And all are going to be invited to Global Council events. We don't care who you are. You're always invited to our events. Devotee, non-devotee, you're always invited to serve with us, to sing with us, to study with us, to pray with us. As long as you contribute to the unity and not cause division and criticize. We just want all the officers' input moving forward. And the final word is, Swami is definitely in charge and always will be. And we have to just remember that. So with that, Sai Shravan, would you like to close the meeting with a prayer?
Sure, Akshay. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Samastaloka Sukino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Jai Sai Ram, everyone. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, everybody.